Hello everyone and welcome to Shelby This Week. This is a special edition of our program, a look back in the year 2013. We'll review what happened in Shelby Township in 2013, those important events that happened, big and small, that had our attention in the past year. We present those stories as they appear on our weekly program in chronological order. You'll see the month the program aired on your screen. We take a look back at the year 2013. Macomb County Animal Shelter has the largest intake of animals in the state, but Macomb is up for the challenge. Fresh faces at the shelter mean brighter futures for pets. Stacy Sansatera has the story.
The Macomb County Animal Shelter is changing, and Paris is one dog who will live to bark about it.
Paris was presented to us at our shelter through the front desk. The previous owner, brought Paris in as an owner request euthanasia. She was requesting that Paris be put to sleep. One was that she could no longer care for Paris, and Paris was in bad, health condition was in bad shape, but she had Paris wrapped in a towel.
Once Paris was examined, it was clear that she was severely neglected. The little 7-year-old Maltese-like dog was emaciated, weighing only 3.3 pounds and swarming with fleas. But what really got everyone's attention was her stench. It was a decomposing flesh from Paris's back leg.
Paris's leg was severely damaged from lack of care for the wounds, which was caused by mats cutting through the dog's actual skin, cutting the circulation off. And because of Paris's condition, I then, and knowing that the supervisor had informed me that Paris's previous owner had 2 other dogs at their house, I immediately had sent 2 of our animal control officers to Paris's house.
Officers were immediately dispatched to the owner's house to press animal cruelty charges. And Paris, instead of euthanizing her, Officer Randazzo took the time and initiative to reach out into the Macomb County community to find a way for the shelter to best help her.
When Jeff called, picked up the phone, and he was like, "Hey, I've got this dog, I don't know what to do. The veterinarian thinks that the leg needs to be amputated. That's obviously not something that can be done at the shelter." Well, he knew that we do high volume spay and neuter. We've got a lot of veterinarians and technicians. We do surgery 5 days a week. So how out of the realm would it be to potentially do an amputation versus a spay and neuter? So he wanted to know if we could help. Absolutely we can. So he brought Paris over, and it was immediate. The neglect was so apparent, it was just heartbreaking. I mean, there's no reason in today's age, with enough rescues out there and enough support and people knowing what's going on, that you can't reach out and get some help. And so before that wouldn't have happened, and now it is happening. So to me, this is just a huge success story of Paris would have been euthanized. Instead, today, it takes the shelter a little time, a little thought and effort to pick up that phone and say, "I need some help, can you do it?" And that wouldn't have happened before. So that's a huge turnaround of actually inviting rescues to help.
As new director and chief animal control officer, Jeff Randazzo encourages a fresh mindset and problem-solving approach that will one day push the shelter to be recognized as a model for the entire state. Prior to his appointment, the shelter was criticized for decades concerning its high euthanasia rate.
So today, things are changed where we are reaching out to the rescue groups. We have a really strong collaboration. Also, volunteering, that's a really big portion of what we do now. We just signed up 26 volunteers. So we train all the volunteers on stress reduction and how to handle animals so that all the animals are being held and handled in the same way, and the staff as well. And to me, it makes the animals have a more structured environment, and it gives them more of a better well-being while they're in our care. And I think that's what's important, is that we're improving their quality of life while they're under our care, and then they're also getting, manners, and they're being trained, and that all helps an animal become more adoptable.
Paris is now safe at All About Animals Rescue. Though primarily a spay and neuter clinic, Officer Randazzo knew All About Animals would have the capability to give Paris the medical care she needs.
We decided, all right, let's see what we can do. Let's do the best that we can. Let's help her out. Got her some immediate medical attention, and through working with her, and she goes home every night with one of our licensed veterinary technicians, they've started to rehab her leg. And so we think that it's savable. We're really excited about that because, we'd like for her to keep all 4 of her little legs.
Within hours of when Paris would have been euthanized, she was resting comfortably, had a good meal, treated for fleas, and started on medications, including pain relief. Their journey to her new life is just beginning thanks to the new Macomb County Animal Shelter. And what happened to Paris's owner? A simple slap on the wrist, as current laws only allowed for a $61 animal cruelty citation. For Shelby This Week, I'm Stacy Sansatera.
Utica Community Schools recently announced the Teacher of the Year, and there was a big surprise to one special person. Utica Community Schools is committed to education, and Superintendent Dr. Christine Johns says UCS has many great teachers, but 3 teachers went above and beyond and were recognized recently at a breakfast event. Jody Ruiz is a Spanish teacher at Jeanette Junior High. She's been a teacher at UCS since 2003. She received the Junior High Teacher of the Year award.
I never dreamed that this would happen. I love my classroom and I love my students, and that's why I do this. This isn't what it's about every day. This is just kind of like the icing on top of the cake right now, most definitely.
Stacy Knoll is a teacher at CSI. Stacy instills important skills like job shadowing, internships, and the importance of college to her students. She received the Senior High School Teacher of the Year award.
Completely honored and overwhelmed with this award, and it's amazing. And this is not a job. This is something I look forward to going to every day. So to be honored for this today is beyond anything I can even imagine. I want to thank the kids I work with every day. Make it a joy, and my teaching staff. I couldn't do this without them. So it's anything anybody would ever want to have in a teaching job. Talking to kids and playing with kids and laughing with kids and getting a little math in there as well. Sometimes they brighten my day, and I love doing what I'm doing, and sometimes they'll learn a thing or two as well in there.
Angelo Harwood received the Elementary Teacher of the Year award. He's a 5th grade teacher at Flickinger Elementary and has served in UCS since 2004. Not only did Angelo receive the Elementary Teacher of the Year, but also Utica Community Schools Teacher of the Year.
Truly a humbling experience. As I said earlier, just get to this point. The people along the way in my career and my life, from my parents to my wife, to the colleagues that have supported me, has definitely got me to this point. So it's a great profession. What I do with these kids in civics, it's every day always excited to go in and see something new.
Angelo says he's never at a loss for words, but when Suburban Ford of Sterling Heights gave him a new car for free for 1 year, he was speechless.
Better.
The 3 teachers also received certificates and a gift basket. Day in and day out, teachers devote their time and talent to inspire students to learn. The township and former police chief agree to settle, but details haven't been released. According to court records, the ongoing lawsuit between former Shelby Township Police Chief Robert Lehman and Shelby Township has been settled, and neither side is releasing information about the agreement. Lehman served as police chief for 10 years. In November 2011, Lehman filed a wrongful discharge suit against the township after the township board voted to allow his recent 3-year contract to expire. Earlier in 2009, Lehman started an investigation into a criminal complaint against the then Township Treasurer Paul Veier over an alleged threatening phone call to a member of the Planning Commission. He also launched a separate investigation into an alleged money gift given to Supervisor Rick Stathakis, but both cases were handed over to the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office with no charges filed in either case. It was these investigations that Lehman believed was to be the reason for his release. It's that time of year again. Decorated eggs, Easter, chocolate, and bunnies are here for families to enjoy. Stacy Sansatera gives us the update.
The Shelby Township Parks and Recreation Department played host recently as residents came out to the annual Easter events.
It's a great event for the kids. We got the Easter Bunny behind us, and everyone gets some eggs, some candy, and pizza lunch and a visit from the Easter Bunny.
The Easter Bunny lunch allowed kids to munch lunch and spend some time with their lovable floppy-eared friend. I mean, what is your favorite thing about Easter?
That the Easter Bunny gives me presents. I like spending the time with the Easter Bunny. Finding eggs.
Is that what you do on Easter morning? What else? Do you get lots of candy? What about you?
Eating candy, getting hyper.
And this event could not be what it is without the dedication of the event sponsor.
Well, our community gives to us, and we just want to give back to them.
Now let's hop on over to Riverbends Park for an exciting afternoon of scrambling for goodie-filled eggs.
Happy Easter.
I just really like it because then when the Easter Bunny comes, you get candy, and sometimes like you'll get toys sometimes, because last year I did.
Really?
Yeah.
What about you?
Same thing as him.
Yeah? What's the very best thing about Easter? Is it all the candy or is it the time off school?
Time off school.
You get to find lots of Easter eggs.
Yeah, what do you hope's inside the Easter eggs?
You get lots of chocolate.
Are you going to eat all the chocolate today?
Yeah, but I'm going to see some.
This free event is a highlight every year as children line up for the scramble. And with that, in less than a minute, over 8,000 goodie-filled eggs were snatched up. Another great job by the Parks and Recreation Department. For Shelby This Week, I'm Stacy Sansatera.
This is probably a week that no one will ever forget. It began Monday in Boston with a terrorist bombing. 3 people dead, many more injured, and there was a local involvement. We have a report coming up about a township resident who was in Boston and participated in the marathon and was impacted by what had happened at the finish line. We'll have that report coming up, but first, a report at the Visteon Plant. Shelby Township has scheduled a meeting to discuss the findings at the former Visteon Plant site on 23 and Mound Roads. The gathering will be held on Wednesday, April 24th at the municipal grounds at 7 p.m. Dirt samples have been taken from the site over the past few months. Last August, a Macomb County judge ordered Ford Motor Company, previous owner of the Visteon land, to have Dragon Corporation investigate the plant grounds. In 2010, the empty Visteon plant was sold to a firm called Indiana Metals. The company's plans were to demolish the entire plant. Township Attorney Rob Huth tells us more about the testing going on from Dragon Corporation.
So Jim Dragon is a world-renowned expert. Began sampling the property to see what's there so we could best determine how to get it cleaned up. Well, they're looking for anything abnormal and the type of thing that you may find in an industrial plant that used solvents for so many years. So they look for things that you wouldn't expect to be in the ground unless there was pollution. Most prominent way is to take a soil sample from at a spot straight down using devices that collect it at different levels, and that way if there's anything found, it can be marked at a certain depth so it can be compared to the aquifer and make a determination. The tests are going to show essentially that there is a need for the site to be cleaned and to be cleaned soon. And we're going to continue to press for that result in our circuit court case against a number of parties, including Ford Motor Company.
Okay. And then obviously you're saying the test did come back with some bad results. So in your opinion, would this be a detriment to development in this area?
Well, I think if the status quo were maintained and nothing was done, yes, it would be a huge detriment. And we believe this has been on Ford's radar for a number of years, and it should have been handled before now. But Dr. Dragon has set forth a plan to solve this problem and clean it up so there will be no detriment to future development and our current township residents.
Chemist and CEO of Dragon Corporation, Dr. Jim Dragon, will be at the presentation to discuss the results of the dirt samples. All are welcome to attend the meeting. A tragic event happened April 15th, an explosion at the Boston Marathon. Usually a day of celebration quickly turned into a deadly shock. Shelby Township resident Nancy Smith is an avid runner. She was running the Boston Marathon that fateful day. This was her 13th Boston Marathon. Stacy Sansatera spoke with the local resident and walks us through her journey in Boston.
It's so surreal. Part of me kept thinking, this just can't be. I've done this 12 years. It's always a celebration. That night, you're out to dinner with your friends, you're wearing your medal, your shirt. What was your time? How'd you do? How was your run? And just talking through different points of the marathon itself. But it's an excitement, and that's not the way it was when that evening or when I traveled back. It was just a very calm, silent, nobody asked each other, how was your run? What was your time? It was, where were you when the bomb exploded?
And like every runner on that fateful day, Nancy has her own story to tell.
I was on the course, and then they shut down the course. So my situation was that we didn't know what was going on. I had heard when we were at mile 22, 23, 24 that there had been a bomb, but no confirmation. And so we just continued to run, and then all of a sudden the police officer put the yellow tape across and said, "You're done." And when we questioned, "Done, you mean we're not continuing in to finish?" He said no, and asked if he could tell us anything. He said no. "Where do we go?" "I don't know, but you're done."
And with that, this veteran knew something wasn't right.
I had met another lady a few miles earlier, and I had my cell phone, thank goodness. I don't usually carry it, but I had problems with my hip and wanted to be able to stay in touch with my friends and let them know where I was at on the course. So she didn't have one. I had one. I said, "Why don't we stay together?" I have my cell phone. Her husband was at the finish, and she was worried about him knowing what was going on with her. So I said, "Let's just stay together, and then we'll find out what we need to do." So we saw that there was a Starbucks right alongside the road. Went in there because we have our running clothes on. We have no money. We're maybe 3/4 of a mile from the finish, just trying to get our bearings. I said, "We need to get something to eat or drink." We had run 25 miles. Usually there was water and food, solar blankets at the finish. And so I said, "I don't care, I'm gonna go ask them, tell them what happened, can we get some coffee for free?" And there were a few other runners that had gone in there, and a woman with them, and she said, "Don't worry about it, I'll take care of it for them, I'll pay for the coffee and water." And so we sat down and we drank coffee, and they tried to update us on what they knew, the reports coming in on a bombing, but again, very few details at that point. And said, "Don't worry, we'll stay with you." She went and got some plastic bags so that we could cut out the head and make them as coats for us, because we knew we'd need to be leaving at some point. For at least 15 minutes to half an hour, we couldn't get any calls out. No calls were coming in, no calls were going out, because they had shut down the airways. I was able to get texts, thank God, but no other communications. So it just took a while to get in touch with people and to hear back from them. And then the texts that started coming in, they were, "Are you okay?" from friends and family. "Are you okay? Please call us." I didn't really understand, again, the magnitude of what was happening.
This lack of understanding left this Shelby Township runner feeling overwhelmed.
We left Starbucks intending to try and get back to the finish and back to my hotel, which was part of the Copley, Marriott Copley. It's a mall complex, and the finish is in front of it. And so started back, we see a bus with a police officer motioning runners, "If you need to get your bag," because all of our baggage that had our jackets, whatever we took with us to the start, was in our bags that you pick up at the finish line. So they said it was in this area, a common area. They would take us there. We got on the bus, didn't go anywhere. They couldn't find any streets that would get them around that area. So I met a couple from Boston. They were in their 60s, just so wonderful, and were talking to us about it. They had just come from the Wrigley Field, and they just said, "Don't worry, we'll take you wherever you need to go. We live in Boston. You can come stay with us." And so they tried to walk us to the common area. That's where we heard that our bags were going to be located, that they weren't there. Instead, I have some pictures. It was a staging area. So I knew that wasn't going to be productive going there. So then they said, we'll try and walk the one woman back to her hotel, which they were able to do, but mine we couldn't get back to. So they just said, come with us. They let me get on their computer. I went on Facebook right away to at least tell people that I was okay. Again, not knowing details other than they said there was a bomb explosion. And then they made me some soup and a sandwich and said that I could shower. Well, in the meantime, I'm trying to stay in touch with two of my runner friends that had made it back to the hotel. They had gone through the finish shoot before the explosion, back to the hotel. Well, the hotel was on lockdown. No one was allowed in, no one was allowed out. At 7:30, they lifted that. So this couple personally walked me back, probably 10 minutes, to my hotel. I was able to get in and join my friends. We started watching TV, the CNN, but really all they were showing at that point was the explosion with the smoke, and it didn't appear serious. Although the count at that time was 140 were hurt, injured, and then 3 deaths. But it wasn't until the next morning when we saw more of the pictures coming out in the newspaper, the magnitude of the injuries and just a horrific scene that had taken place.
And with the realization of what actually took place, the finish line that Nancy had so proudly crossed over 12 times prior would forever be changed.
Sad. It'll never be the same. But I'll just, when I run it, it will be even more special. Because as my friend said, she ran across and about 5 minutes later the explosion occurred, and she said those same spectators that were cheering me on that last portion that, again, you're tired, and it's their cheering that just really helps you make it to that very end point. And she said they cheering her on and then they're not there anymore, or they've been hurt. And yeah, I'm sure when I come in again and go by there, it'll feel different, but I'll remember that. I'll just reflect differently. I'll think of it differently.
Think of it differently, as there is no doubt Nancy will once again run this beloved marathon.
I will be back. I love the Boston Marathon. I love Boston, and I'm more determined to be back there, and it'll just be more special next year. I will run with just a different purpose, a different commitment, the honor, the gratefulness.
For Shelby This Week, I'm Stacy Sansatera.
The Heart of America has come to Shelby. That's the name of the new memorial honoring those brave young men who have lost their lives fighting terrorism. Shelby Veterans Coordinator Phil Randazzo spearheaded the drive to place the original statue in Mount Clemens, and he did the same for the Shelby Memorial. The dedication was Sunday the 19th. Parents of those whose names are on the memorial attended.
Well, there's something that Terrell said to me. Terrell said to me, he said, "Dad, if I don't fight this war, when will I? I may not never get a chance again." I said, "Terrell, you may not come back." He said, "Dad, all of that is part of it. If I don't come back, at least somebody else's son and daughter won't have to go to war."
Todd graduated from Eisenhower High School, went on to West Point, and I'm sure a lot of the families will remember this talk. Todd called it the what if talk. And a couple days after I was notified that Todd had died, one of my requests was, how do I make sure that nobody forgot Todd and the sacrifice that he and everybody over there made. And Todd said, Dad, I want to be buried at West Point. Well, we're not from West Point, I'm sure you know that. And he said, I want to be buried at West Point because I want to be buried near heroes. And there's another reason, and that is that you can't come to the cemetery every day or every other day. And the one thing he told me is that after this is all done, you have to get on with your life. But I want to thank the city of Shelby Township for putting my son's name on that memorial, because I know now that he will never be forgotten.
But I want you to know, we've been through this. We're going on, it'll be the anniversary of 9 years. And we've survived only because of the compassion of the community. And you relatives, lean on them. They are your support group, and literally they are your support group. They're there, they mean well. I don't know what we would have done without them. And we're a product of their support also.
Well, my partner Megan O'Brien has spent many days attempting an update on the Sunoco Pipeline work in the township. Her hard work has paid off.
That's right, Phil. 9 miles of pipeline carrying natural gas that runs through the township is being replaced. The pipeline runs diagonally from DeQuinder Road to 26 Mile in Van Dyke. Township resident Wally Brocker lives on Cut Crystal Road off DeQuinder, and the 8-inch pipe travels through his backyard right under an old shed, which Sunoco bulldozed down.
Well, there was a shed there, an old shed that had a lot of junk in it, stones and rocks and even an old doghouse. And they tore that all down, and basically they cleared most of it out except for the cement that you see there right now. And they're supposed to come back later on today and finish the job. Well, you know, what can you think about it? It's something that has to be done, and that shed was in the right of way. And even though it's been there for a lot of years, it's in their right of way, so they have a right to tear it down. They're not here to make enemies. They're here to get the job done in as friendly a manner as they can.
Wally Brocker told the construction crew he and his family buried 4 pet dogs under that shed and asked if they could be careful to not disturb their graves. The workers kindly obliged. Local landscaping company Green Giant and Capital Sprinkling are working to remove any encroachments in the way of the pipe. Brocker says officials have kept residents informed of the repairs.
Very much so, I would say. I have no complaints about anything that they've done. I have no idea how deep the pipe is that they're going to replace, and you know, I know it goes a long way, so I have no idea how long they're going to be here. And I don't think anybody in the neighborhood does either. There's a guy here that's been telling us exactly what's going to happen. So other than I don't know when they're going to start laying the pipe, but I'm assuming he'll tell us.
Once all the work is complete, restoration work will begin, replacing items like sod, fences, and concrete. One of 6 family members accused of selling K2 synthetic marijuana out of a Shelby gas station pleaded no contest recently. Derek Dabish, age 32, of West Bloomfield, will spend 18 months behind bars after Dabish pleaded no contest to 3 charges stemming from a raid on October 31st, 2012 at a Citgo gas station and Woodstock smoke shop on Van Dyke near 21 Mile Road. 6 Dabish family members were arrested in conjunction with the raid, where police seized K2 and $20,000 in cash. Dabish has been in prison for previous convictions. November 13th is a trial date for 4 other Dabish family members. The 6th family member is too ill to stand trial at this time. That standoff between the township and Ford Motor Company is apparently over, with the township victorious. The issue? Ground contamination, which spread from the old demolished trim plant through acres of land. Toxins TCE and TCH found in the ground were discovered. The township said Ford was responsible as they owned the land for years. Originally, Ford claimed no responsibility, but then had a change of heart. Supervisor Rick Stathakis explains.
Whether it's 150,000 or 150 million, That's not even material anymore in this debate or this argument, because we now will have an agreement with Ford that whatever the cost is and whatever needs to be done, they will be on a hook and they will clean it up. That's all we wanted from the beginning. And now that we have that, like I said, I think the residents are extraordinarily happy, but we will all be happier after it's cleaned up. And we'll see some progress. From what I'm told, they'll start this process in the first quarter of next year.
Ford sold the land in recent years to a developer. An upscale neighborhood was built. With residents concerned about toxins in the land in and around their neighborhood homes, I went back to Central Park for reactions from residents, some in the process of selling their homes.
Every little tree that would die, we would wonder if that was something to do with it or anything. Yeah, but it's over, I hope. They've taken care of it. That issue was brought up a lot in selling it. You know, we had to give the real estate papers that they were doing on it from the association, that Ford was working on it, and I said it come at a perfect time. We don't have well water in the grass, but then they started saying, well, it was creeping closer and closer, so still worry about it. But it's good now, I hope. We'll see.
Well, I'm very grateful that they're going to do. I'm happy that they're going to do that. I think they should. I mean, it's responsible citizenship, I think, and I'm glad that they're not fighting it in the courts like so many people want to do. So it makes me feel good, and it's good too for the people who live here. We can feel a little safer. We'll want to be selling this next spring as we move to a retirement community, and I would like to get full value for this. I wouldn't like it to be diminished because of the fear of contaminated groundwater. I understand, though, that in this area that problem hasn't migrated this far. But I mean, there's always the potential, and there's a perception too. You know, that hey, you know, what's going on with all that the runoff and the contamination from the plant migrating over here ultimately. So I'm glad that they're going to step up and take care of that. I'm very happy that they did that also. I mean, they're serving us, right? We elected them and we want them to do that, and we're very happy that they stepped up to it and didn't back down.
Ford still questions the original estimated cost of cleanup, which was $150 million, so the company is working with the DEQ to confirm an amount that will be announced early next year. The agreement avoids a trial which would have started this month. As for the old plant site, piles of debris and concrete slabs still remain at the old site at 23 and Mound. The responsibility of cleanup remains with Indiana Metals, which the court reaffirmed. A Shelby Township mother charged with the death of her 2-year-old son was back in 41A District Court recently. 21-year-old Rihanna Roads went before Judge Matthew Remora. Rhodes is still in jail pending trial for the death of her 2-year-old son, 2-year-old James Nelson. James died from heat stroke last month after being left unattended in a minivan for 10 hours. Judge Remora ordered Rhodes to undergo a competency examination, making sure she is stable enough to stand trial. The exam may take up to 60 days to complete. The Deanna Brothers are back in the news. 2 Shelby Township brothers are accusing a restaurant owner of being an opportunist. Giuseppe Deanna and Girolamo Deanna were originally charged with attempted murder, extortion, and witness to intimidation after allegedly beating 36-year-old Pietro Ventimiglia. The Deannas were owners of the tiramisu restaurant on Shaner north of 23 Mile. They allegedly sold the business. Ventimiglia is the owner of Nona's Italian Kitchen on 23 south of Shaner. The brothers unhappy over the restaurant competition. It was April 2011 when the brothers attacked and beat Ventimiglia allegedly with a baseball bat. Now the brothers are accusing the victim of exaggerating his injuries. In January 2012, the brothers were sentenced to serve 2 months in jail for the beating. The Deannas paid $17,000 restitution to the Ventimiglias. Now the Ventimiglias filed a liability lawsuit. The Deannas want the case dismissed. A trial scheduled for May 2014. Someone recently said, "We live in a litigious society." In Shelby, that may be an understatement. Settling 2 lawsuits may cost residents more than $1 million. Several years back, the township made a contract with Technology Integrated Group Services, known as TIGS, to set up and run an IT department. The company was owned and operated by a brother and sister, Don and Darren Hanna. In 2007, the government charged both with violating and trading embargoes with Iraq. The township terminated TIGS' contract. The pair went to trial. The sister was convicted and went to prison for 6 years. TIGS sued, claiming breach of contract. The Board of Trustees has approved paying TIGS almost $550,000 to settle the case and avoid a trial. The second case involved the Nightingale Towing Company. Nightingale held the towing contract for 50 years, mostly under a handshake deal. The bidding process was ignored until recently, when Nightingale and other companies bid for the contract. Nightingale got a new contract, lost it, got it back, and lost it again. One member of the large Nightingale family, Nick Nightingale, ran for a trustee seat and is on the board. After all of this, Nightingale sued, citing political pressure. Outside attorneys have now recommended and trustees approved a tentative settlement of $745,000. Only Treasurer Michael Flynn voted against such payments. The only question now is, where will all this money come from? Trustees have already paid some hefty attorney fees with dollars from the police department budget. As we recently reported, the 41A District Court in Shelby Township will not be moving anytime soon. Macomb Township took great interest in building a new courthouse, but after accounting firm Plant Moran calculated their numbers for Macomb, their board voted against taking 41A court, stating the court revenue would not cover the cost of a new building and court operations. Here's Supervisor Rick Stathakis on this topic.
So yes, now it's back in our lap with the Board of Trustees here in Shelby Township. And we're going to look at all the options on the table. We're actually contemplating now as we speak, and we'll probably have a meeting about this, I would say sometime toward the end of January, to decide exactly what it is we can do, and we'll go from there. There's no question we have to do something. I mean, the judges have told us, I think, for the last 8 or 10 years that it's been a safety hazard. So we do want to move on it. We want people to have a safe environment, and we're going to do what we have to do. It might mean some renovation, but there could be some other options too.
The cramped 41A court will remain right where it is for now on Van Dyke, just north of 23 Mile, sharing a building with the Shelby Library, Senior Center, and Shelby TV. Freezing temperatures causing delays at Chief Jean Shepherd Park. Plans for a grand opening were for this fall, but cooling temperatures put the grand opening on hold. The new park on 23 Mile between Ryan and DeQuinder is almost done. Officials say 2 projects, adding fire truck decals to the building and resurfacing the parking lot, are still required. Some good news on the construction. The park is under budget by about $5,000. Total cost $445,000. The park isn't complete, but residents are still utilizing Chief Jean Shepherd Park, which is named after the late fire chief who passed away in 2012 from cancer. The finishing touches and grand opening will be on hold until spring. The second thief who stole from local churches and businesses was sentenced recently. Logan Gehring, age 17, from Sterling Heights, pleaded no contest to 6 counts, including 3 counts of burglary and 1 count possession of a taser. He was ordered by Judge Mary Cherzanowski to perform 50 hours of community service, sentenced to the time served behind bars, and 3 years probation. Gehring served 47 days in jail. His co-defendant Eric Eby, age 19, of Shelby Township, was sentenced last month to 3 to 10 years prison time for breaking into local businesses and St. Therese Lisieux Church in Shelby Township. Both are ordered to pay $23,000 restitution to an insurance company and $500 to St. Therese Lisieux Church. Santa Claus and other visitors stopped by Shelby recently for the annual Township Tree Lighting event. Stacy Sansatera gives us the holiday details.
It's an old-fashioned Christmas right here in the Township Municipal Grounds as Shelby Township officially lights the holiday tree. Shelby Township's annual Christmas Aglow brought family and friends on a crisp winter's night. And all of this holiday fun is the hard work of our Parks, Recreation, and Maintenance Department.
We have obviously Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus here, and we have all kinds of fun things for the kids. We have a craft tent, we have crafts going on for the kids, we have free hot cocoa and hot dogs and cookies, compliments of Shelby Lions Club and the Scoops Ice Cream Shop on 26th and Van Dyke. We have our sponsors here. We have Christian Financial and Dr. Ban Barbat. and we have horse-drawn wagon rides and all kinds of fun things for the family.
The Eisenhower High School Show Choir kicked off the evening with their own holiday cheer.
The plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland.
What does the holiday season mean to you?
Family, food, friends, fun.
Absolutely. What about you? What does Christmas mean to you?
It means fun, presents, and family.
Okay, let's talk about presents. What are you hoping to find under the Christmas tree this year?
A glow pet seal.
Who are you most excited to see tonight?
Mom.
Mom? You're more excited to see Mom than you are Santa Claus?
Yes, Santa Claus.
Okay. Well, what do you want for Christmas this year?
Xbox 360.
Ooh, what about you? What do you want?
I would like the Skyliner Giants for the Wii, so I can play with him.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea. Now, what is your favorite thing about Christmas? Is it the presents or is it all the time off school?
My favorite thing about Christmas is, well, spending time with my family and giving instead of getting.
While the community gathered for some fun festivities, it all led to the main event, Santa Claus.
Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus
And the Girl Scout Troop 7034 from Chrisman Elementary.
And Santa made it official as he lit the township tree.
3, 2, 1, oh, thank you very much, Santa.
Well, Christmas has always been like a family tradition. We've had it at my house since my house was built, and it means a lot because it's like the one time a year that all my family comes over and we all get to see each other.
How about you?
It's a time of family and friends and a lot of fun.
Another outstanding free family event offered up by the PRM department. From the municipal building with the big guy himself, I'm Stacy Sansatera.
Merry Christmas!
And that's our review of 2013, some of the top stories that happened this past year. Now we prepare to report news stories for 2014. We'll return with our weekly Shelby This Week newscast, our first one of the year, January 10th, 2014. Don't forget to join us then. You can always check in with us online at shelbytv.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/ShelbyTWPTV. Thanks for watching.